Hello again, everybody. As you can see, I am sadly back from the trail and into the real world. But what that means is I'll be coming out with a lot of new videos here really soon, so stay tuned. I'll have some gear review videos. I'm going to be doing some of my favorite stuff from the trail and comparing the trails I've hiked so far, and I'll be having some more tip videos. Hopefully some more DIY stuff will be coming in. And also I'll be starting a new series on Tenkara, which is something that I recently got into, and it's kind of opened up a whole new world in backpacking for me. So I was hoping to share that with you and maybe get some of you all interested in it. So what I figured I would do is I'd start with this video, which is just going to be like a little simple overview and introduction to Tenkara. And as I continue, I'll be doing some reviews on the pole I used on trail, and some tip videos, and maybe just some fishing outing videos when I Tenkara fish. So anyways, let's just jump into it. What is Tenkara? Well, it is a style of fly fishing that originated in Japan, and some of the commercial fishermen use this style up in the mountain streams to catch a lot of trout. And I have to say, in my experience on trail, I've caught a lot of trout. It's a very efficient and simple way of fishing, but it works very well. So a Tenkara rod, it is fly fishing, but you'll notice it has no reel like a traditional fly rod, so that saves a lot of weight. And it also has a fixed length of line that you'll attach to the end of the pole. And on the end of that line, you'll have a little piece of tippet, which is just like your standard narrow monofilament that you would tie to the fly. And that's about all you have. It's a super simple setup. So essentially it's pole, fly line, and fly. And that's all it is. And what that means is it's a very lightweight way to fish. And I would call it ultralight. And just to start out, I would say you can get a fishing setup, a full Tenkara setup with everything you need to fish for under 3 ounces. So it's a super efficient and lightweight way to fish while you backpack. And that's kind of how I got into it. I had always wanted to fish on my backpacking trips, but with a traditional fly pole, which is pretty much the lightest way to fish that I knew of, it's still not really viable. It's so much weight, and especially on a long trip like I usually take, it's just not worth carrying for the entire trip. But for 3 ounces for an entire setup, you might as well just carry this and just not carry a Snickers bar or something. It's a really cool way to expand your backpacking trips with fishing. And for those who are into fishing, I would definitely recommend checking this out. And if you're not into fishing, maybe try this. It's a good way to get into it, and it's a really simple way to fish. And it's a good way to learn to fly fish, because you do have a fly line and you're still going through the standard casting motions of a fly rod. You just don't have a reel to deal with. Okay, so the cool thing about Tenkara is just its simplicity. You have your rod, and let me just show you how a rod works here. You basically have the rod. This is a little cap that protects the sections of the pole that are inside the main carbon fiber sections here. So you take the cap off. The cool thing about this Tenkara USA pole is you can just stick the cap in the bottom there so you don't lose it. So you take the cap off and slide out these little sections of pole, and you can see here on the very final section, which is a tiny little section, there's a thing called a lilian, and this is where you attach the fly line to. And I'll be doing some other videos showing you how to set up a pole, so I'm not going to do that right now, but that just gives you an idea of how it works. And then you just extend these sections, pull them out, pull them a little tight onto each other, and suddenly you have a long fly pole that you can cast with. And you can see this pole actually has additional sections, so it can be as short as 10 feet 8 inches or as long as 12 feet 9 inches, which is perfect for getting into different size nooks and small streams, or fishing lakes and ponds even. And you can see that's a lot of range for a fly pole. And just as easily as it opens up, you can break it down and throw it in your pack and move on to the next fishing spot, or just keep hiking. And this is really why I like it. It's lightweight, so it makes sense to bring it on a trip, and it's so compact and easy to whip out. You can, and I did this a lot on the CDT. I would be hiking, I would stop for 5 minutes, pull out my pole, set it up in less than 30 seconds, and be fishing for 5 minutes and catch fish. And I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. You can throw the pole away, put it in your pack, and keep hiking. So anyways, the simplicity of it is, there's your rod like I showed you, and attached to the end of the rod is a fly line. This is called a level line, and it's just a dense piece of plastic line. And it gives, if you don't know how fly fishing works, the line is the weighted part, not the fly. So you cast with your line, and the line delivers the lightweight fly to wherever you're aiming. And that's contrary to traditional fishing, where you're using a weighted lure or something like that to deliver the line to where you're going. So anyways, you have your pole, you have your fly line, and on the end of the fly line you have a monofilament tippet, which is just a way to keep the fish from seeing the bright fly line, and it helps deliver the fly a little more accurately. So you have your monofilament attached to the end of the fly line, and that's maybe just 4 feet, so you can tie on a fly. And then you have your fly. And as you can see here, Tenkara flies are no different from traditional flies, but they are simpler. They have a reverse tackle, which is facing towards the eye of the hook, and a really simple design. And you can Tenkara fish with traditional flies, but I really like the simplicity of just using one of these small flies and catching whatever I want. And that's one of the focuses of Tenkara, is it's not so much about selecting your fly as it is having a good presentation, and the fly shouldn't matter. It's really, as long as you're presenting well, the fish should bite it, which is really cool. So you can go out into the woods with one fly and catch as many fish as you like, so long as you are perfecting your method. So you got your rod, you have your line, and you have your hook, and that's all you need. One thing I carried with me on trail, and you can see it's still set up from how I had it on trail, this is just a lightweight foam line keeper, and I have my one fly on it, and I did carry a couple backup flies just in case I lost one on trail, which actually never happened. But so I have my one fly, and you can see it's attached to the leader already. This is a whole line set up and ready to fish. All I have to do is unroll it. So I have my fly, my tippet, and my fly line all on this roll. And actually on the inside of this roll I have my extra tippet and extra fly lines of different lengths for fishing different distances. So this is a really light setup, and normally on my backpack I'd have my pole on the outside and just this in the mesh pocket, and I could set up and be ready to fish in about 30 seconds. So that's how Tenkara works. This is just a little protective sleeve for it if you're ever traveling on a plane or something. But what I wanted to do here is just give you a brief overview, and I'll show you now how light this setup can be, and that'll be it. And I'll definitely have more videos on this to come. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and let's get to weighing this. So this is my traditional fly pole, which is a pretty lightweight setup, but let's see how much it weighs just to compare it to a Tenkara setup. Yeah, so this is 9.6 ounces, 272 grams. So that's pretty heavy. That's not something I would ever take backpacking with me. certainly not for a long trek. Now a Tenkara pole, just the pole alone, is 2.7 ounces, and in grams that is 78 grams, which is pretty impressive. And if you add in this entire setup here, so this is extra line, extra tippet, all the fly you'll ever need, and the holder for it, comes out to 84 grams or 3 ounces. So you can have an entire fishing setup in your backpack for just 3 ounces. So maybe don't carry that extra Snickers bar and you can fish. Pretty amazing that you can even do that. And that's really what got me into the Tenkara method, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. It's just a really cool way to fish in the backcountry. So I hope that helps. There's more to come. If you have questions, ask them, and stay tuned because I've got some more gear videos coming up soon.